Since said that he now believes Russia may not want to stop the war. We will have more on that in a moment. But first, our correspondent Adam Parsons looks at how the Catholic Church celebrated Francis's life.
For the final time, Pope Francis emerged into St. Peter's Square. For more than a decade, he had led the world's Catholic population, but now was the time to say goodbye. With infinite care, his coffin was carried out, a notably plain design for a man who treasured simplicity. Francis was laid down, still being treated with the greatest reverence. Above, a cloudy morning had given way to sunshine. 250,000 people were crammed into the streets and squares of the Vatican. A sense of celebration as well. The church and its devotees had lost a leader. There were other leaders here. Some of the best-known people in the world came. There were talks behind the scenes, but in public, this was nothing less than a solemn show of respect. With affection and admiration, a man who kept working until the very eve of his death.
Despite his frailty and suffering towards the end, Pope Francis chose to follow this path of self-giving until the last day of his earthly life. He was a pope among the people, with an open heart towards everyone.
But Francis was also remembered here for his views, his politics even.
His gestures and exhortations in favour of refugees and displaced persons are countless. His insistence on working on behalf of the poor was constant. It is significant that Pope Francis's first journey was to Lampedusa, an island that symbolises the tragedy of emigration, with thousands of people drowning at sea.
And as Presidents Trump and Zelensky looked on talks about the conflict in Ukraine, the world remembered a pope who loathed the destruction of war.
Papa Francesco incessantemente.
Pope Francis incessantly raised his voice, imploring peace and calling for reason and honest negotiations.
La guerra lascia sempre il mondo peggiore.
War always leaves the world worse than it was before. It is always a painful and tragic defeat for everyone.
Sempre una dolorosa, tragica sconfitta. Costruire ponti.
Build bridges, not walls, was an exhortation he repeated many times.
Che egli ha più volte ripetuto.
It was a line once condemned as an awkward criticism of Donald Trump, but now acclaimed, and when the homily finished, the applause rang out inside the basilica and in the streets beyond. Prayers were offered, some spoken and some sung.
Per omnia saecula saeculorum.
Before the moment when the congregation is asked to shake hands with each other, an act that can surprise even those who've shaken 1,000,000 hands. But it is a symbolic gesture, known as a sign of peace. This was a funeral that felt both intimate and enormous, watched by the cardinals who will meet next month to pick the next pope. One of these men will succeed Francis.
Misericordiae tue, Pater Clementissime.
Just watching today my special part of the news, which
An
you
emotional pinnacle
know it's
in
gonna
any
be
funeral service.
definitely
Brought another
the
outpour
funeral of the Pope,
noise and affection.
Pope Francis. All courtesy of Sky News.
His coffin was lifted and tipped gently towards the congregation. The final act of farewell. And then, slowly, slowly, carried back into the shadows and grandeur of the Basilica. This beautiful service encapsulated the papacy of Francis. It was framed by immovable Catholic traditions, but also peppered with references to the liberal causes he held dear, the plight of migrants, the peril of war, and you heard warm applause. He is now being prepared for his final journey. In the past, it would have ended there. Popes are normally buried in the Vatican, but not Francis. His coffin was now carried by his Pope-mobile vehicle for a journey through Rome, watched by more vast crowds.
One thing I noticed is coffin, you know, I kind of like it, you know, it's original.
A Pope
It
hasn't
is
been buried
original.
outside the Vatican.
That's
for
what I
more than
know
a
when I was
century.
growing up, you know.
The procession passing
That's the kind of coffin I know.
built during the reign of the second Pope.
But the
Francis
world kind of
was
changed
Pope
with everything, you know.
266.
But
Few have been so loved.
this is
And this was a chance
very
for
amazing,
many
man,
to
and
say
this is my
goodbye.
special part of the news today, as
The
I
final
share with
stop,
you all.
this one. The Basilica Santa Maria Maggiore, the Pope's favourite church, the place where he asked.
How
to be
simple the
buried.
coffin is. Look at it. I like it, you know. It's
His
natural.
coffin carried inside, greeted by children, roses, and by this, the image of the Virgin Mary that Francis adored. This was the church, the place that he always came back to.
Those coffin
Solace.
is a coffin used to make from the cedar wood.
It is where Pope Francis will rest forever. Adam Parsons, Sky News, Vatican City.
So that is my special part of the
Well, as the sun
the news, you know.
sets over
Man, I tell you,
Vatican, St.
you know,
Peter's
the
Basilica
coffin
behind us,
is
the
something
day
that I
of
used to
Francis's
from
funeral, Sky's
way back,
commentator
you know, back in the
Alistair
days,
Bruce is here with me. What a
like my
sight to
grandfather
see.
and other people in my community, they always, you know, have a special cedar tree in the back of the lawn or somewhere, you know, so when them pass away or when them dead, you know, lately we saying pass away lately, but when them dead or whoever, you know, whatever, that is the cedar tree they have to cut and, you know, have it prepared. And sometimes they cut it before and have the board all prepared and have it under the house and everything, you know, so, you know, it's an original. That coffin is an original, you know. That's what I know about, you know. As I share my special moments with all my people, all my peeps, you know. I want to say thank you all, you know, to share with me every now and then when I share my special moments, you know, or my special news or views or whatever, you know. Blessings, man.
And then
DJ MJ out there with the OUTDEH program at home, just relaxing and watching something very special to me. I wanted to subscribe, like, share, and also make a comment. Blessings to all my people, man. Blessings, enough love and respect to you.
Because the pictures there were utterly beautiful too.
The Basilica Santa Maria Maggiore, named after Mary, was absolutely vital to him because he was driven by the Marian tradition as a Jesuit. It meant so much to him, the love of Mary. And he saw to it that in any way he could, before any great adventure that he had to go on, or papal visit, or even when he came out of hospital the other day, to go back and to gaze at the icon that had been given to the papacy in the year 593. And it has been such a figure of sort of galvanization of the whole Roman city throughout its history. And he held it above the city during COVID.